for you to use it in America, at least not on a large scale. There's no reason for people to do that, and there is no tradition. So everyone wearing a mask nowadays in the West is doing so because the narrative. Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's evil. That's why it's a sin. There is no tradition. So everyone wearing a mask nowadays in the West is doing so because the narrative. Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's evil. That's why it's a sin. It's not
Wait a second.
tradition.
Wait a
So
second. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Excuse me. We let's listen to that again. Let's listen to this again.
everyone wearing a mask nowadays in the West is doing so because the narrative. Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's evil. That's why it's a sin.
Oh man. Anyway, of course, I want to start off with saying Shalom. Of course, all praise unto Yahweh and His Son Yahweh Shai, Yahweh who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahweh Shai who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. But I was just listening to a 6-hour live stream that the Mind of God had a few days back, which I listened to the whole show, but I took a couple bookmarks, so to speak, because I wanted to come back and reiterate on a few of these. And one of them was this right here, this character named Jewish Questions. You can see him in the white at the bottom there. He basically was making a statement, and you heard it for yourself. We slowed it down so you could hear it. He said that basically, wearing a face mask is a sin against God. That's what the brother said. He said, that it goes along with the narrative that they put out. So that means that wearing a covering over your mouth when you go into a store, that is a sin against God. That's what he said. And that's clearly not true. All right, you can't sit there and tell me that something I do is a sin if that's not in the scriptures. What is sin first? According to 1 John chapter 3 verse 4, it says what? That sin is the transgression of God's laws. So wait a second. You're adding to the book, brother. What is that? Revelation 22 verse 18, 19? Right, you're adding to the book, Matt. Right, you don't have a right to tell anyone that, to cover their face is a sin. What the hell are you talking about, man? And it's regardless if it goes along with their narrative or not. That's irrelevant. Putting a piece of fabric over your face when you go in the store is not a sin, regardless if they what they tell you. And by that logic, well, wait a second. What about couldn't I then say it's also a sin to use paper money to pay for things because it uses the the Egyptian pyramid on it? Okay, so it's the enemies, right? It's the enemies. So by logic, could I then say that's a sin to use paper money to pay for anything? And not to mention, when you buy stuff in the store, the barcode on the products, it actually equals 666. So these will be the same guys that will get on me for drinking a energy drink such as a Monster drink. They'll say, oh, well, there's 666 on the can, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know. But wait a second, if you go to the store and purchase anything from a damn, box of hot tamales, right, to a damn, water, or pack of damn, what is that? Hungry Jack's, cake or pancake mix, they all have 666 on it because it has the barcode on it. And you can do the research on it. So by logical deduction, couldn't I then say, oh, okay, well, why are you buying products that have 666 on it? But then according to them, that part's different though, right? That part's somehow different. This is illogical. This makes no logical sense. So you heard the brother, right? So I'm not putting words in his mouth. You heard it directly from his mouth. He said that it's a sin against God to wear a face covering when you go in the store. All right, you heard it yourself. He said that, well, it goes along with the narrative. So that's why it's evil, right? That's why it's a sin. What the hell are you talking about, man? You don't have a right to tell us what is a sin. Scriptures say that what is that? If we go to what is that? Romans chapter 4 verse 15, it says, where there is no law, there is no transgression. So where is the scripture that says that a man can't wear a mask over his face when he goes into the store? That's not in the Bible. So by logical deduction, you can't say that's a sin. All right, regardless if it goes along with the narrative they want out there, that doesn't mean it's a sin. because there's nowhere in the Bible that says that you can't wear that over your face. It's not in there. So what you guys are doing is you're adding to the book. You're adding off of your own opinion and your personal viewpoint is what you're doing. That would be like, what if I said that, well, it's a sin to eat watermelon. You ask me, okay, well, what verse in the Bible says it's a sin to eat watermelon? And then I say, well, it's in there, but I don't know the verse where it's at. Of course, my statement would be discredited. Or somebody said, well, it's a sin against God to eat chicken. I ask, okay, well, what verse says that you can't eat chicken? And they're like, well, I don't know, but it's in there. So same thing with these guys. I asked them numerous times, well, what verse says a man cannot wear a face covering over his face when he goes in the store? And they'll admit, we don't really have a verse on that. It's like, okay, so by logical deduction, how can you say it's a sin then? Because again, according to the Bible, 1 John chapter 3, verse 4, for sin is the transgression of God's laws. Okay, so again, regardless if it goes along with the agenda they want out there, that is irrelevant. That's irrelevant. I'll give an example. Let me give an example. Let's see, what can I use? What could I use for an example? Oh, I know. How, it's their agenda. If you look on the, the Georgia Guidestones? Or the Illuminati's 10 Commandments? It speaks about keeping the population of the world under 500 million, right? So one way that they're doing that is by, making people wait, till they're older and older to have children. Okay, but that's unnatural. That goes against the scriptures. That's why women are having children, in their, 30s, late 20s, and even in their 40s, some of them. Okay, it's rare now, but, you see some women that are waiting damn near till, 40, to start having children. But that goes along with the narrative. That's according to the narrative, right? That's not according to the scriptures. That's considered weird, right? That's considered weird in the eyes of the Most High to wait that long, to start having, children. Okay, but that goes along with the narrative. But does that mean it's a sin? Does that mean it's a sin if you wait till you're 35 to have children? No, it doesn't. But that goes along with the narrative, though, right? It's like, okay, I agree with that. It does go along with their narrative of keeping the population of the world down. Because if you reproduce younger, you can have more offspring. But that's not what they want, right? So it's their narrative to make you wait until later in life to have children. But does that mean it's a sin to have children later in life because it goes along with the narrative? And the answer is no. Okay, so by what logic can you say that if, ETT, and I'll say I do, right? I do wear a face mask when I go in the store. Why? Because the store says you have to. So I put it on. And by what logic can you tell me that's a sin to wear a face covering when I go in the store? Give me book, chapter, verse. There is no verse that says that. So you're adding to the book. That's not in there. And regardless if it goes along with any government agenda or whatnot, that's irrelevant. That's of no importance because it's not a sin. As I said, man, these guys are adding to the book, man. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, that I asked them when I went on there with them, and some of you might have seen that. I believe it was Creation Bear, right? The guy at the bottom right hand side with the the anime character there or whatever. He was saying, it's a sin because it goes along with the narrative. And then I cut him because I was like, well, wait a second. Well, what part of God's law does this violate? And he admitted that he didn't know. He was just saying that it's part of their agenda. It's part of what they want you to do. It's like, so I asked him again. It's like, okay, so show me in the law where it says you can't do it. And he admitted that there is no verse that says that you can't. It's like, okay, thank you very much. So you have proven by your own statement that it's not a sin. So as I said, this brother here, Jewish Questions, right, and, Mind of God and Creation Bear, and I believe LOP teaches the same. I could be mistaken. But if you're teaching that, then you're adding to the scriptures, man. Okay, now let me say this. I'm not saying that somebody should, wear a covering over their face when they go in the store. I'm not saying that. Right? But to sit there and say that someone's in sin if they do that, that's not in line with the scriptures. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I'm not telling anybody to go around doing that. Okay, I'm not saying, oh, remember to put your face mask on when you go in the store. I'm not saying that. All I'm simply doing is saying that you can't say that someone is wicked if they do that. You can't say that. Because you're adding to the scriptures. That's not in there. And the one verse that totally cuts them, well, there's two of them, and I quoted them both already, but I'll say it one more time. 1 John 3:4, for what is sin? Sin is the transgression of God's laws. Romans 4:15, where there is no law, there is no transgression. So someone can't say, well, eating watermelon is a sin. I ask, okay, well, what law says I can't eat watermelon? They admit, oh, well, I don't know. It's like, okay, well, then it's not a sin then, because where there is no law, there is no transgression. Very simple. I think that's all I wanted to speak on, on that. I mean, it's very simple, man. Okay, as I said, some of these guys are just, speaking out of their own belly. That's all they're doing, man. Giving their own interpretation and own opinion, regarding the scriptures. Okay, so that's why you got to be careful, man. Okay, you got to be careful with these guys. Okay, because a lot of guys out here, man, are just giving their own personal opinions. Hey, the scriptures tell you, what is it? In the Apocrypha, it says that many have deceived themselves by their own vain faults and opinions. Right, so this brother, Jewish question, hey, he deceived himself by his own vain faults and opinions. All right, so he's cut. So anyway, I just wanted to do that little video. Anybody made this far into the video, go ahead and put hashtag mask in the comment section down below, just for a little inside smoke, inside joke. Anyway, I'm gonna say shalom.